Alright, in the previous video, we used Munis's account inquiry screen to run a search for Tess's street maintenance org, which is 11410316. And it returned back all 69 of the different objects that are associated with that org. And this is where we left off. Well, let's run that search again, but for a more specific object, rather than getting everything. So, this is a search that I just ran. I could run another one by just clicking the search field. It'll delete out what I had previously put in there, and I can enter it in again new. So if I go 11410316, and then say for an object, say I want to look at temps. I don't know if there's any temps in here. Let's see. 52103. Enter. Aha. There is some budget authority and actual spending on the temps object in Tess's street maintenance org. And let's see how I can figure that out. So these different fields right here tell us the story. The original budget in fiscal year 18, which is the current fiscal year right now, was $60,000. No transfers came in, and this is budget transfers, and no budget transfers went out. So Munis is affirming that, yep, the revised budget, which is to say the current amount, or the current budget, is still $60,000. The actual, that's year to date as of right now, $29,000. There's almost $10,000 worth of encumbrance. So it shows that there's a little over $20,000 available, and it gives you a little percentage. Now let's look at what's going on in these other fiscal years. So in fiscal year 16, you'll see we had some ins and outs. That means that a budget transfer came into this line, and a different budget transfer left. The revised budget ended up here at $33,000. The actual was here. And that's what's going on there. And as you can see in the history going back, similarly, you can figure all this information out. Okay, but let's say that although we were able to successfully find this temp services object, what we actually wanted to talk about was all of Tess's operating expenditures in this street maintenance org. And so I'll show you a little search trick. So if I click search, again type in that same org that I'm concerned with, 11410316, but all of the operating, or some people call it non-personnel expenditures, all begin with the first two digits 52 in the object. So if I type in 52 asterisk, it will give me all of the 52 objects together. So let me hit accept, and you can see that it returned here at the bottom 44 different objects, all associated with this same org. And I can page through them. So 52101, advertising. Next. 52102, professional services. Next. 52103, temp services. And this should look familiar. This is the one that we were just looking at a moment ago. And it goes on and on and on. Now, I also want to introduce a contextual tool here, the totals button. So what I've done is I've gone to a specific org and I've isolated all of the 52 objects. So all of their non-personnel objects. I can click this totals button and Munis will sum everything together. So I can quickly say, for example, the total original budget in the street maintenance org for non-personnel expenditures is $1.8 million. And current actual spending is at just a little over $1 million. I can hit return to get out of the totals, and it's back to all of the individual objects here. Okay, but let's say I didn't want to total everything. Actually, what I wanted to do is to view these objects as more of a spreadsheet so I can kind of compare the two. Well, that's where the browse button comes in. So after you've run a search and isolated the information that you want to look at, so in this case, again, it's in one org, in the street maintenance org, all of the non-personnel money, I can click browse and Munis will change the view of this screen to look more like a spreadsheet. So you can move this little barrier here to get the different sized windows that you want. And look, again, these are all of the same objects, 52101, 52102, 52103. Again, here's my $60,000 from before. Now this behaves just like Munis, or just like Excel, excuse me, in that I can move these columns. So say I was really concerned with just these actuals. I'm trying to pay some bills and I got to know how much money we've spent in different amounts. I can just drag this over. And then when I'm scrolling up and down, now the first column that I'm encountering are actuals. Say, however, I need to compare it to the revised budget because I need to see quickly, what is over and under budget. Now they're right next to each other. As I move off here to the right, you can see that I have some history. Here I'm in 2017, fiscal year 2017, continuing on 2016, and on and on. And it ends over here with the life of the org. Now, this is where Excel can be very useful. Note, however, that there is an Excel that you can get into Excel here from the browse screen, or if I hit return, I can get into Excel here from the main account inquiry screen. And that's important because you get two totally different data sets depending upon if you go in through the account inquiry screen or the browse screen. And let me show you briefly what I mean. So, again, I've isolated just these 44 objects. I'll click Excel. It'll ask if I want summary or monthly data. Most of the time, I'm going to want summary data, and I encourage you to at least start here before you try anything else. And then it's going to open a wizard that's going to ask me what fields I want. Now, coming in from the account inquiry side gives you the comprehensive list. This is a lot of fields. This is a lot. And one thing that's cool about Munis is it remembers your selections going forward into the future. So I deselected all of this stuff because it's not relevant to a lot of the searching that I'm doing. However, I could select division, turn it on and off if I wanted it. Okay? So once I've selected the fields that I want Munis to return, I click accept. It'll run its little export here and then say, do you want to open this in Excel? I'll say open. It will launch Excel and then show me the information that I've just requested. Okay. Now, remember that I said this is the comprehensive view. So, if I just kind of go like that. Note, it starts over here with fund org and on, but then look as this thing scrolls. It's a lot of information. And this may be what you're looking for. But nevertheless, just know that this is what you're requesting. Okay. One thing that's also important to note with some of these titles. All right, I'll start here. So this is all of the information that's identifying the different accounts. Here's the object, project, and on. So I come over here, the first thing you'll encounter is CY original budget. Now CY stands for current year. So in this case, I know because of what date it is, that's current year, that's 2018. As I continue on this way, I have LTD, that's life to date. This fund is budgeted year by year. It's not budgeted multi-year, so I can ignore that. As I continue on this way, I have LY, which you may anticipate is last year. So that's 2017. As I continue this way, I have NY, which is new year. And if you remember on the account inquiry screen, that's fiscal year 19 off to the right. And it's only when I get into the history does it start numbering it in a way that makes any kind of sense. Okay, now let's flip back over to Browse and see what the Excel output looks over there. So again, these are just all of my different objects associated with my search. I dumped it into Excel, and look, it went straight to the Excel export without a wizard. That means it's giving you a specific output, which, as soon as it loads here, you can see is different than the output associated with account inquiry. You notice right away, look, 2018 is numbered correctly. Hooray! As it keeps going this way, you have your 17, and on this way, right? So there is less information coming out of Browse, but it is arranged in a cleaner, perhaps easier to work with format. And so depending upon what you're looking to do, one or the other may be the best for you. But just note that there's two different options. So if you're not finding specifically what you're trying to find right away, maybe think, go over to Browse, go over to Account Inquiry, and look for it that way.